Okay, everyone, today we're going to be taking an in-depth look at all the different activities in the division and their respective rewards. If you want to know which one is going to gear you up the fastest, stick around. Alright, so let's kick things off with the Dark Zone. Now, it's important to note that the Dark Zone has PvP enabled, so this is not my recommended method of gearing for most agents. However, if you want to participate in that, it actually has a lot of gear that you can acquire very quickly. Over the course of 1 hour, we were able to obtain approximately 54 drops and 90 Phoenix credits. Now keep in mind, this is extremely variable. There is a risk of going rogue, and when you do, you'll get swarmed. There is a risk of being attacked by rogues, and if you die, you'll lose the gear that you've acquired thus far. And there are multiple other risks associated, such as your extraction or rope being hijacked and then losing everything that you've acquired over the past period of time, and it being stolen by other groups of 4, 3, or less. And it's something that's extremely dangerous. It's not something I would recommend for solo players to try and do unless you find a severely empty server. Now, that being said, there are some really cool perks to farming in the Dark Zone if you are willing to brave it. First is the Hungry Hog, and the second is the Midas. Now, the Hungry Hog is a very sought after LMG at this time because the base damage scaling is super high, and the Midas is just a really cool looking submachine gun with a gold skin. I don't actually have one to show you right now, otherwise I would. So just to review, the Dark Zone, you can acquire about 54 drops per hour as well as 90 Phoenix credits per hour if you are to progress directly from one landmark to the next and then extract immediately after. This is not taking into account combat sealed caches or anything like that, or any additional rewards from the Dark Zone, or buying sealed caches with Dark Zone funds, and this is definitely not taking into account the fact that at any time you can be attacked by rogues or accidentally flag as rogue, and as a result you will get swarmed and die if you accidentally do flag. It's a very unfortunate thing. Even then, they'll probably also clap on your body, they'll try to at least, and then you'll lose everything that you were hoping to acquire while farming. The Dark Zone is not recommended for smaller groups. It is viable to farm gear quickly. However, it's not our, seal of approval, this is what you should be doing method by any means. The next method we're going to talk about is open world boss farming. Now, the entire route of all 14 open world bosses takes less than 1 hour if executed properly while fast traveling to nearby points, and will provide you with, on average, 35 drops and 90 Phoenix credits. Now, I've done my best here to provide a map of the entire open world and every single boss that spawns within it, all 14. And it is very important to note that these bosses respawn every 4 hours. So every 4 hours, you can farm them in less than 1 hour and acquire 35 drops and 90 Phoenix credits. This method is great for people that like to roam around the open world and encounter bosses organically, but don't want to be susceptible to PvP in the Dark Zone and don't want to be killed by enemy agents who are choosing to go rogue. This is a really fun method. I'm really glad that they implemented these bosses as having viable loot now, and I must say that I have had very good luck with named weapons from these bosses. If you are looking to acquire the Tenebrae or the Caduceus in particular, I would strongly recommend this method. Every 4 hours, run through, kill them all, get all the gear, get the Phoenix credits, and most likely you will actually get these named weapons. I've had fantastic luck. I received multiple of them over a very short period of time, far more than any other activity in the game, so particularly the Caduceus or the Tenebrae are available from this method at a heightened drop rate in my experience. Now, the route, again, takes less than 1 hour, and I do have the map previously displayed in the video for anybody that wants to look at it. Hopefully it has a comprehensive guide, and you can easily see where they are with a description of the environment that they're in, so that it's very easy to find them. Alright, the next one on our agenda is high-value targets. Now, it's important to note that high-value targets are in a limited supply. They respawn both daily and weekly, but they are an extremely lucrative method of acquiring gear without the risk of going rogue. Over the course of 1 hour, approximately, we obtained 42 drops and were rewarded with about 460 Phoenix credits. Now, this varies based on how fast you can complete them. We were completing them on average in about 10 minutes, especially the weeklies, but you can complete them much faster if you have a better build or more people in your squad or you're more coordinated. Now, they are in a limited quantity, so it's important to note that you cannot just indefinitely farm this method over and over. But it does, pose a very easy method of acquiring a lot of gear once every week as well as once every day if you have the time. The potential named weapons are actually the Caduceus and the Tenebrae, similar to the open world bosses. However, I have not seen very many drops of those two named weapons from these bosses, from the high value targets, so I wouldn't suggest this as a method for farming those in particular. That being said, it is quite dynamic, so there's some good encounters, there's some bad encounters, and the HVTs are lucrative overall. Just to reiterate, that's about 42 drops on average per hour when doing the weeklies, and about 460 Phoenix credits per hour. That's very good on the Phoenix credit side of things. That's not as good on the approximate drops of maxed out gear side of things as it could be, and we'll be going over that more in a second. Next, we're going to talk about challenge mode missions in the open world. Now, there are a variety of them to choose from. We chose to go with Hudson Yard due to the fact that it has multiple bosses, and it seems to be a very quick completion time. But you can go with anything such as Lexington Event Center or Russian Consulate if you feel like it. Now, over the course of one approximate hour, we were able to achieve about 48 drops and 200 Phoenix credits. That's good on the drop side of things. That's decent on the Phoenix credit side of things. And the named weapon that is potentially dropped from these challenge mode open world missions is the Showstopper. I finally do have one, thanks to my buddy Eker. I'm very amped about that. It's going to be a great addition to my build, and you can obtain this from challenge mode missions. You can get a decent amount of Phoenix credits, you can get a decent amount of drops. There's no susceptibility to going rogue. They're fairly easy to complete if you have a faster, more efficient group than ours. We only had 3 players at this time while doing this test. You'll be able to achieve more drops than we did. Likewise, if you have less, or if you have, you don't have dedicated PvE builds, it might take you a little bit longer, but the difference is going to be negligible. So to go over things, challenge mode missions, about 48 drops per hour if you're as lucky as I was, and 200 Phoenix credits per hour. And that's something that is considered, average. That's something I would recommend people do if they're trying to mix up their farming routine, but it's definitely not the most optimized method in the game. Okay, next let's cover Incursions. Now, this is World Tier 4 Heroic Mode Clear Sky as an example. Other incursions take a little bit more time, that's why we didn't choose to cover them specifically, and switching your world tier will yield more Phoenix credits at the cost of less 229 maxed out gear. Over the course of 1 hour approximately, we were able to achieve on Heroic Mode, World Tier 4 Clear Sky, about 30 drops per hour, as well as 500 Phoenix credits per hour. Now this is very loose, it can either take you a lot more time or a lot less time depending on your builds and your coordination, but we found that it was good for Phoenix credits, not so good for gear. Now, another thing to note is that you can obtain the Medved, the named weapon, from the Clear Sky Incursion, and this is not the method covering World Tier 2 cheese. There is a video on our channel on how to do that. In World Tier 2 Challenge Mode Incursion, you can achieve about 100 Phoenix credits per run and do it in less than 4 minutes. So we have a dedicated video for that. It will be linked in the description. This is, again, Heroic World Tier 4, and it's a little bit of a description on incursions in general and how they compare. Again, Falcon Lost and Dragon's Nest are not as good because they have required mandatory portions that take more time to do than Clear Sky, which is more about how efficient you can be while killing enemies. Just one last time over this, we have 30 drops per hour loosely and 500 Phoenix credits per hour with this incursion. So it is advised to use this if you have a coordinated team for Phoenix credits, not advised to use this for gear. Last but certainly not least, we have the Underground. Now, approximately per hour, running one phase challenge mode operations in World Tier 4, we were able to achieve about 80 drops and 60 Phoenix credits. Likewise, if you're willing to run directives, because that was running 0 directives whatsoever, you're able to achieve between 60 and 380 Phoenix credits per hour using this method. It is fantastic. I have yet to find a better way to acquire gear in particular, and I would recommend this to everyone that's trying to max out characters. That being said, it's important to avoid the critical infrastructure modifier on the missions, as that will just increase the amount of time it takes you to progress through the Underground. It's very important to go through as fast as possible, just farm up those drops, pick them up, sell what you don't need, deconstruct, etc. And you can achieve upwards of 80 drops and over between 60 and 380 Phoenix credits per hour. This is fantastic, and this right here is what I would consider to be the best farming method in patch 1.4, specifically for maxed out pieces of gear. That's going to do it for our in-depth analysis of all the different activities and how well you can use them to gear. I would always urge people watching and listening to this to check out our communities below. The links are provided in the description. We have very in-depth Division communities going. We have a Discord, we have a Facebook, we have very, very comprehensive community events going every single week. A lot of really fun stuff going on. So check that out if you're struggling to find a team or if you just want to get more out of this game in general. As always, guys, thank you for watching, thank you for listening, and have a nice night.